For better or worse, the new ring skill tree is here to stay, and now that I have had a chance to actually use it in my newest campaign, I wanted to take a minute to make a video to share my opinion on how you should build your ring in the early game. I'm not really going to talk about any of the major changes that have been made to the ring. If you want to know more about those, go check out the first video I did on this topic, which was a new ring skill tree overview. Let's get right into it. All right, so the first major change to the ring that I am not a huge fan of is that in the very beginning of the game, the only skills you're even going to have access to are up here in the top left corner. The top right corner unlocks at ring level 10. The bottom right is ring level 30, and then the bottom left is ring level 50. So in the very beginning of the game, the only thing you're going to be able to invest points into is Dominance, Extract, Time Out of Time, and the Abundant Might and Wisdom skills. Now, I went ahead and put a point into Extract. However, in retrospect, I think it would be good advice to not put a skill point into this, because at most you're going to use this skill like 2 or 3 times. It's a new skill that lets you instantly gather resources from a tile. However, you get less resources than if you were gathering on that tile. So as soon as you unlock Gathering, in my opinion, Extract is completely obsolete. And when you reset your ring skills, you cannot pull points out of Extract. You also can't pull points out of Time, which is another pretty much useless skill in my opinion. This costs 1 ability point to finish construction when it has 10 minutes or less. I think if we're going to be paying an ability point, we need to have like an hour or less, or just something way more than 10 minutes, because ability points in the early game are extremely valuable. Another way that they could maybe change this is just let you cut an hour off of a build per ability point, although I imagine then people would boost with gems less often, so maybe they don't want to do that. So pretty much in the early game, at ring level 5, you'll put a point into Dominance. At ring level 10, you'll put another point here, and ring level 20, you'll put another point in there. This is, as always, the most important skill on the tree. And early on, just put points into Abundant Wisdom or Abundant Might. I think Abundant Might is generally better, as there are more commanders that can make use of the small might boost in the early game. So in my opinion, skip Extract, pick up Time Out of Time because you pretty much have to, and then put some points into Abundant Might. If you want to be super crazy, you could just invest no points in here at all and then save yourself a reset, because right when you hit level 10, that's when you're going to want to reset your ring. Do remember to put your point in Dominance though, but you'll pull any extra points that you had in Abundant Might. You're going to pull those out so that you can put a point into Enormous Power and a point into Gather, and then max out Enormous Power. This is because, just like with Control, they just basically renamed this ring skill. You get plus 10 ability points, and that makes your ability points regenerate more quickly. Once you have 10 points in Enormous Power and your point in Gather, you could dump some points into the resources for now, or you can just come back and put some points into Might or Wisdom. Either way, in my opinion, you're going to be resetting your ring once again at level 30. That's definitely what I plan to do. I'm going to put my 30th point into Dominance, and then I'm going to immediately reset my ring again, so that I can put 1 point into the Stamina ability, 1 point into Mind Sharpener, and then I'm going to be maxing out Powerful Sweeping and Experience as quickly as possible. I'm not going to worry about Dexterity, which actually increases the EXP you gain from Mind Sharpener. Mind Sharpener is just their new word for Mock Battle, by the way. But I think these 2 skills are going to be probably the most impactful skills, I guess, besides Gather. Gather is amazing, and I really hate that we don't get to start with Gathering anymore, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, once you hit ring level 30, you're really going to want Powerful Sweeping. You're really going to want considerable EXP, because this is probably around the time where you're going to be able to start taking 200 power tiles, or you're going to be really grinding out your 130s and your 150s, and both of these skills are going to help significantly with that. And then after that point, once you hit ring level 50 to unlock the last branch over here, the first thing you're probably going to want to take is Abundant Force. I don't think you'll have to reset your ring at this point unless you went really heavy into the extra resources up in this top right corner. So If you want to reset because you put points into those temporarily, that's totally fine. Conscription and hiring time decrease will help quite a bit, because around ring level 50, you're definitely going to be grinding out those 200 plus power tiles. And depending on what server on, PvP may have started as well. You'll probably want to pick up Long March and Quick March. I would save until way later in the game, because most of the time you're either going to be long marching or gathering with your ability points. And if not either of those, you're probably going to be wanting to mock battle one of your commanders. So it's really not, like in my experience, it's really not until quite later on into the season that I have extra ability points to throw into quick marches, unless it's an absolute emergency. The other final note I will make is the new ability Clairvoyance. This may be worth a point depending on your playstyle when you start taking 200 plus power tiles. For 2 ring ability points, this will give you all of the information about both of the defending armies on a tile. For PvP, this will just give you the info on the first 2. So this does actually work on player armies. Keep in mind, players can move their armies, obviously. But if you're trying to hit a crossing or a keep or a fortress or something, this could be very useful for that. That way, hey, maybe there's a Witch King on that tile, I need to send my Gandalf. Oh no, maybe there's a Sauron on that tile, I need to send somebody with focus protection and or Manus immunity. I do think this will see use in PvP. If you don't want to manually scout tiles and risk starting that 15-minute tile reset timer, you can use Clairvoyance to scout the tile without starting that reset timer. However, it is going to cost you 2 ability points each time you use it, and that is quite a lot of resources in the long run if you're using this like 10 or 20 times. Like, you know, if you're every single time you're taking a tile, you're using this, that's going to add up quickly. Overall, I'm a bit disappointed because I think the new skill tree is way less complicated, and for a player like me, I really like having interesting decisions to make in the early game. I've made videos talking about the difference between Levy and Harvest, and I had actually done the math and figured out that Levy gave you more resources once you hit a certain level of your tributes. Levy is just totally gone now, so there's not even a choice to be made of, do I invest in my tributes, which have an upfront cost and then pay for themselves over time, or do I just go ahead and pick up Harvest, and that way I can invest the resources that I would have spent on my tributes into other things. To me, that was a very interesting choice. That's just gone. As I said in the overview video, I hope that they add more skills to the skill tree, because I also think there's just not enough things to put points into, not enough interesting things to put points into. I think it's going to be pretty quick that we have all the cool stuff we want, and then we're just going to be kind of putting points into getting more resources when we're at a point in the season where we have basically unlimited resources anyway. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something useful. Catch you in the next one. Phoenix, over and out.